share from Second Chronicles chapter 35 verses 20 through 27 or 26. This is uh, the story about Josiah. He was a king of Judah. He was one of the most dedicated kings to God after King David. Actually, he was the most dedicated to God uh, from the line of King David. He had done amazing things. He completely turned Judah around back to God. Um, he got the reins when he was 8 years old. Uh, I think by the time he was 16 or so, he started traveling the kingdom un, and started undoing everything that his ancestors had done as far as destroying altars to false gods and such. And then he ultimately rebuilt the temple in Jerusalem, and where um, God's law was found. Uh, and so, upon the scroll being read, he realized that it was God's laws that Moses had given him. And so humbled himself, showed great remorse for the sins of his ancestors, and God granted him that uh, he would wait to punish Judah until after his death. Uh, but Judah still was going to be punished for rejecting God for all these years since uh, since after King Solomon. Um, so this is a story that I want to share. Is his tragic end. Um, Despite all that, he came across the king, King Neco, who was of Egypt, and King Neco was in a rush to join the Assyrians to fight the Babylonians. Um, and God had told him to do so. Well, Josiah got in the way of that, and even after Neco told Josiah, you know, don't impede me because God told me to go, because if you do, you'll be destroyed. And that's what happened. And and then Neco uh, placed his own king and demanded tribute after that. But Neco's ending is that he also was defeated by the Babylonians. And I think that was as a result of what he did to Judah. But anyways, let's read starting from verse 20 in chapter 35 of Second Chronicles. After Josiah had finished restoring the temple, King Neco of Egypt led his army up from Egypt to do battle at Carchemish on the Euphrates River, and Josiah and his army marched out to fight him. But King Neco sent messengers to Josiah with this message: "What do you want with me, King of Judah? I have no quarrel with you today. I am on my way to fight another nation, and God has told me to hurry. Do not interfere with God, who is with me, or he will destroy you. But Josiah refused to listen to Neco, to whom God had indeed spoken, and would not turn back. Instead, he disguised himself and led his army into battle on the plain of Megiddo. But the enemy archers hit King Josiah with their arrows and wounded him. He cried out to his men, "Take me from the battle, for I am badly wounded." So they lifted Josiah out of his chariot and placed him in another chariot. Then they brought him back to Jerusalem, where he died. He was buried there in the royal cemetery, and all Judah and Jerusalem mourned for him. The prophet Jeremiah composed funeral songs for Josiah, and to this day choirs still sing these sad songs about his death. These songs of sorrow have become a tradition and are recorded in the book of Laments. The rest of the events of Josiah's reign and his acts of devotion carried out according to what was written in the law of the Lord from beginning to end, all are recorded in the book of the kings of Israel and Judah. So, I guess the point that is being shown to me that I'm feeling about this is that one, we have to know when to pick our battles. You know, when to not interfere with what somebody's doing. Um, because, like in the case of Josiah and Neco, Neco was actually told by God to hurry to assist the Assyrians to do battle, and it would turn out to be against the Babylonians. Now it's kind of interesting to think what would have happened if Josiah had actually listened to Neco and not, you know, and not have impeded his progress and actually went to battle for him. Who knows? Maybe God would have spared Judah uh, from the Babylonians, because maybe the Assyrians and Egypt would have defeated the Babylonians at that time. But we'll never know. But because and Josiah, he had a choice. He could have listened and went back. One, he would have lived longer, uh, and may have even had even more restoration to to the nation. But for whatever reason, Josiah refused to back down. He chose to fight this battle even after being warned that God was with Neco. And so, indeed, Josiah lost his life as a result. And then Neco, in the end, also lost the battle at Gilgamesh, because by the time he got there, I think the Assyrians had already been defeated. Thereby, Neco wasn't strong enough to finish him off, and so he was defeated as well. Um, but yeah, but the point that I'm being shown to myself, I think, is you gotta learn to to choose and pick your battles, um, because you just don't know. Because even though you think you're doing the right thing, you might be impeding somebody who's doing God's work, and because of that, um, instead of a blessing, you could be bringing a curse upon yourself, and that result can affect others, and it can even affect the outcome of what the other was trying to do. And I think Neco suffered what he suffered because of the fact he did kill Josiah, who was a king of Judah, you know, God's the king of God's people. But he further went on to uh, demand tribute, and he eventually put in his own king to run Judah uh, afterwards. But anyways, we need to learn to pick our battles. If 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 there's something that has nothing to do with us and we have no business getting involved, um, then we need to listen to God and not get involved. Because when we get involved in the dealings with God, when we're told not to, we're in fact trying to say that we know better than God. And the simple fact is that is never going to work out well for us. Uh, you know, and who knows, by us not listening to the Holy Spirit, listening to God about not getting involved in a certain battle or whatever it is, you know, it could devastate us. Like in the case of Josiah, he lost his life, and in doing so, um, Israel's fall, or not Israel, Judah's fall came faster. Jerusalem's fall came faster than what it would have if Josiah had not impeded Neco, you know, when he was trying to rush up to Assyria to help them fight the Babylonians, which were the ones who eventually did defeat Jerusalem and destroy the temple. Everything that Josiah had accomplished was laid waste, and Nebuchadnezzar, of course, took most of the uh, Jews to Babylon, away from their homeland. So this is a case where we need to be not like Josiah. And then the fact that Josiah also disguised himself. Um, I don't know what Josiah was thinking, other than that maybe he thought that if he could disguise himself, God wouldn't realize that it was him going into battle. But of course, we all know that that is just not possible because God knows everything, God sees everything, God's everywhere all the time. He's omnipresent. Um, and so nothing gets past God's eyes. Not one thing. So, with that, I love you guys. You have a blessed day, and we'll see you tomorrow.